organizer with Orlando Against Police Crimes. And oh yeah, there's gonna be noise. It's loud. All right, thank you, David. My name is Cassia. I'm an organizer with Orlando Against Police Crimes, and I'm here to tell you a little bit more about these two cases, why we're here today, and what we're demanding. Before we get into the cases, I wanted to make note of something, which is through those doors on the podium out here, you can read the words service, integrity, and respect. Those are the three words, I suppose, that are meant to define the FDLE. And I just want to point out that, service to whom, right? What service did the cops who shot Tyrone, Bartley, and López, what service have they rendered to the families? What integrity do they have when we see these investigations go absolutely nowhere every single time? And what respect can we have for an office that time and time again refuses to hold police accountable when they shoot and kill our fellow community members with no accountability whatsoever? So service, integrity, and respect, I say shame, shame, shame. There is nothing respectful about the FDLE office, and they've proved that with the investigations that they've conducted over these two cases. David mentioned Luis Lopez's case. On February 8th, he asked for help. There was somebody in his home that he had been out drinking with. He didn't want him to stay. He wanted him out. He called to get the guy removed. They were in an altercation, most likely one that was, due to alcohol. And during this altercation, within moments of the police showing up, within moments from outside the home, they fired shots into Luis's kitchen, into his kitchen window. Through his kitchen window, they shot Luis in the head. No questions asked. They shot him in the head while he was asking for help. Ayúdame, he shouted. Ayuda, help. And as always, rather than just taking a single moment, just a single moment to try and have a discussion, to ask questions or to find answers to what was going on, they shot first. And that's become way too commonplace in our communities of color, in our black and brown communities, where people are seen as disposable and dispensable. And yet, that officer who shot the gun that fired the bullets that killed Luis Lopez was never charged with any crime. In fact, the FDLE behind us didn't even find any wrongdoing at all. Not even just no charges, no wrongdoing at all, not even a slap on the wrist. They did nothing, the FDLE said. These police did nothing wrong. And so they spent a few months on vacation, paid vacation, and now they're back on the streets. We think that's unacceptable. On May 16th, Tyrone Bartley was in his bedroom in a multifamily dwelling in which he lived when the Orange County SWAT team showed up. They showed up guns ablazing, they banged down his front door, and by the time they got to his bedroom and he opened the door, they shot him. Within 3 seconds of him opening his bedroom door, they shot him. He was also, by the way, unarmed. Luis Lopez was unarmed. The person who was in Luis's home was unarmed as well. Nobody in any of these instances was posing a single threat to the police who shot and killed them. And what's worse is Tyrone had nothing to do with the reason that SWAT was there to begin with. They were there because they had a warrant for somebody who lived in another room in this multi-family dwelling. He was the victim of a botched SWAT raid. But mainly, he's a victim of Orange County Sheriff's Office policy of shoot now, ask questions later, especially when it comes to black and brown people in our community. And the men who killed Luis and Tyrone are not being held accountable. They're not being held accountable in any way, not by the FDLE. They have both released their investigations and have said there's no wrongdoing. So where does that leave us now? That leaves this case in the hands of our state attorney. Our state attorney has the power to bring charges and investigate these shootings, right? Police are not above the law. Are police above the law in this country, in this county? Does Orange County believe in due process of law?
Sure.
Does the state attorney? Does she believe in the system of which she's a part?
Good question.
Because if she does, then she should be moving forward with an investigation and bringing charges against these folks who murdered people in their own homes. At the very least, these charges need to be brought up and let a jury of their peers hear the evidence and render a decision. The way this would go down if anybody else had shot those bullets into those homes that killed those innocent men. That's what we are demanding. That charges be brought against the persons who shot and killed Luis and Tyrone. And we look to the state attorney now to make that happen. That is how justice can be upheld for Luis Lopez and Tyrone Bartley and their families. So I say we demand justice. You say how. You say charge the killer cops now. We demand justice. You say how. Charge the killer cops now. We demand justice. You say how.
Charge the killer cops right now.
We demand justice. You say how.
Charge the killer cops right now.
Thank you, everybody. That is where we stand right now in this campaign for Luis and Tyrone. But it's not just about us, the community organization. It's about the friends and families of the loved ones who have lost a key part of their hearts with these shootings, with these murders. So I am going to call Edmund up to read a statement here from members of Tyrone's family.
Once again, thank you all for being here. Like Cassia said, I do have a statement from Symphony Bartley. This is Tyrone's daughter. For those of you who don't know, Tyrone's birthday just passed last week, and so Symphony wanted to relay this message kind of, with that in mind. So she said, "Hi, my name is Symphony Rael Bartley. My daddy's name is Tyrone Bartley. Last Monday was my daddy's birthday. He was going to be 33 years old. I remember last year we went to Olive Garden and then we went to Lake Eola. This year I didn't get to do that with him because somebody killed my daddy. And I don't know why somebody would kill my daddy because my daddy was a really good person and I miss him. And I don't understand why anybody's not doing anything because what the person did is not right. And my daddy did not deserve to die, and I just wish that I was able to spend his birthday with him this year, but I didn't get to because of the person who killed my dad. And that's all I wanted to say. Have a good day."
It's criminal that nobody's being held accountable for the death of Tyrone Bartley and Luis Lopez. They want us to believe that nobody should be held accountable. 2 people have died: a father, sons, a fiance, right? These are people who were part of families and communities, and they deserve justice. And the FDLE and Monique Worrell, our state attorney, is telling us that nobody should be held accountable. Nobody's responsible for their deaths. Nobody. That's what they're telling us. And that is not how we pursue justice here. So I'm going to read a statement right now. This is by Luis Lopez's friend, Luida. I'm going to not utilize her last name for her request. "Since I was little, my parents taught me that police were here to protect us. Everywhere I went, I knew that if I had an emergency, to call 911 for help. The night of February 8th, when my friend and neighbor needed help, the first thing I did was dial 911. I regret doing that now, but nothing can be changed now. That night has been the hardest night of my life. The night our lives changed forever. My friend and neighbor was killed by 2 police officers who were supposed to protect him. Alex Duran and Paul Ortiz shot my friend Luis Lopez, the man who called for help, the man who was fighting for his life inside his house. The officers shot and asked questions later. They falsely accused Luis Lopez to be armed with a knife and didn't answer to their commands, but Luis was never armed and didn't speak or understand English. Luis was a hard-working man who came to the U.S. with many dreams. He was ready to back his family, who he was eager to see. He also wanted to get married and dreamed of having a family, but all that was taken from him. Christian Contreras, the guy who broke into the house, he was released after serving his time in jail and was charged with trespassing. The officers are back on duty. and they will continue to live their lives like nothing happened. They get to go home and be with their loved ones. I can't believe that they can sleep at night knowing that they killed an innocent person. Nothing will bring my friend back, and I want to be able to call his family and let them know that we here were able to do something, and that those officers will not hurt another family. I want justice. I want closure. Thank you.
The sheriff's office they think this case is over, and it's up to us to make sure that it's not over. Several years ago, there was another young man by the name of Salafius Melvin, where he was shot to death running from a deputy at Florida Mall. He was shot in his back as he was running away. So what threat does a person pose if they're running away from you instead of at you? They also did not charge the deputy in that case. About 3 weeks ago, there was a court ruling that there was a decision made to pay Mr. Melvin's family $1 million for wrongfully shooting him, and also to apologize to his family for shooting him. I also mentioned that the deputy who shot him had since, I guess a year ago now, had been arrested for peddling kiddie porn while he was still a deputy. And then he was on suspension for being arrested for peddling kiddie porn, and then he got arrested a second time because he was basically spying on the detective who was investigating his kiddie porn case. That's all to say, this guy's a bad cop. Roll around. God knows what else he may have done. So it's up to us to continue to pursue this. We are going after whatever information, whatever's in the FDLE files. We're going after these people's personnel files, and we need to make these deputies who did this, we need to make them famous. We need to make sure people know their names, so they don't have a moment's rest. So people, if they get stopped by them, stuff like that, they will know who these people are, know these people are killers. And that's why I'm wearing my shirt about no lynching, because that's just what happened. They got lynched. They were killed, and nobody answers for it. So, in back years ago, people hid behind hoods and killed people. Now they're hiding behind badges and killing people, and they're still getting away with it. And that's just wrong. And we in Orlando Against Police Crimes, we're not going to let that happen. Thank you very much for taking your time out of your busy schedule to be here this evening, and the fight continues. You have a good chant for us, Edmund? You're good with chants.
I did this one on Saturday, so those of you who are there might know it, but it's pretty easy. I say, when killer cops are on patrol, then you say community control. Or I'll say, when killer cops are on control, what do we want? You guys say community control.
Okay.
So, when killer cops are on patrol, what do we want?
Community control.
When killer cops